So thank God for that.
Beat me.
Welcome to the PARAcast. Hold on. Shut up your faces. Let me host a damned show, all right? This is for the listeners. Welcome to the PARAcast. I'm your host, Tomas the Boss Fernandez. Joining me tonight, he still got it, and restless leg syndrome affects 20 million Americans. It's Steve Koski.
Hey, what did you say, Sonny?
Also, I couldn't find a good way to phrase this joke, so hopefully everyone gets it. It's a slow burn. He should have looked up what horseshoes were before he killed the horse. It's Robert Wyatt.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Nothing.
I'm still waiting for that to burn at the
if he thought horseshoes were shoes for his feet. He killed the horse.
That's awful.
So someone's coming over to make horseshoes. He killed the horse. And everyone yelled, "Fine, Jared, get the damn tacos." It's Jared Stepp.
I don't know what to say to that.
I want taco. We're going to eat afterwards, but I want the taco.
I didn't know they were free.
And then you ordered chips and salsa, and they spiked you.
Well, they never gave me the chips and salsa, so I'm like, well, if you guys are free, then yeah, I'm going to get some tacos. God damn you.
Yes.
Jared's a cop. He is all about that free life.
And I think anyone's all about that free life. Am I right, Steve, or am I right?
You're asking the wrong person. That person is naturally going to be cheap.
Yes.
That's why I asked Steve, not John.
They were good little tacos, too.
Oh, they were good.
With the IDPA match. I guess they're included with your match fee.
Yeah.
That was an interesting move to make it included in the match fee. And I said, huh.
Well, it was funny.
I go to a lot of USPSA matches, and that's included. I mean, it's like
really?
Part of the game. Oh, yeah.
That's a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the ones I go to, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's free lunch," and I'm like, "No."
The best I've ever done is we got Costco hot dogs and we grilled those up for everybody, and everybody loved that. But
they
weren't a lot.
They weren't even the pre-made ones.
Yeah, we've had like this barbecue guy came in at Area 8. Was it Bobby's Barbecue or something like that? Super good food, but it's like in the middle of the match, I'm like, I really want this because it looks and smells really good, but it'd be a bad mistake.
Yeah, so this was kind of an interesting deal because me and Steve were looking at the scheduling, SOing for the day one. I mean, SOing and shooting day one, and we went through that.
Day one of what?
The 2022 WDSA Wasatch Defensive Shooters Association Utah State IDPA match. And so me and Steve were like, oh, I thought they would have like a lunch break or something in there. And then like after we got done at like 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then they had a bunch of Pizza Hut. And we're like, oh, okay, this is great. This is fine. And then they made the announcement that they're like, oh, we're going to have a taco truck. And we thought like, oh, like for staff can get a taco, or whatever. And then I was like, oh, it's for everybody. And I was just like, I've never been to a match that only costs $100 that got tacos for everybody. And and you got to figure everyone's getting the tacos. And I think there is probably maybe 40 or 50 match personnel, 40 match personnel that got it.
A lot. That was a lot of tacos.
Yeah, and so everyone got three tacos and some chips and salsa, and it was fantastic. Do you have something to say, Steve?
No.
You just want to inhale into the microphone?
He's getting
He just started thinking about the tacos, and he started heavily breathing.
Yeah. So it was a fun match. So let's talk to Robert first before we talk to anybody else. What'd you do, Robert, and what do you have? And what are you telling us not to fiddle around with?
Oh yeah, don't fiddle around with your guns. No, was it Aaron Lawson? Aaron Lawson, he, I don't know if he owns or if he just works for. Either way, Rune Tactical makes springs and followers for CZ75.
What tactical? Spell it.
Romeo Uniform November Echo, RUNE.
RUNE.
Yeah, Rune Tactical. Rune. And they make these really cool followers, and it looks like a 3D printed follower, but it allows you, instead of getting 23 rounds in your CZ mags, you can now get 24, which effectively gives you 25 to start with. And in talking to him, he's like, he's tested these things out and ran them all season long.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's awesome. Because it's like, well, why do you need that many rounds in a gun? Well, why not? That's the way I look at it. I mean, if you don't care, then you could shoot production and hate yourself. But alternately, you can have people walk in, and your wife can print stuff on the picture behind you, because apparently nobody cares about the sanctity of this podcast. What the hell?
What sanctity?
But no, so he
This is a podcast.
Surprise! No, this is actually us pre-taping all of our confessions for when the government eventually raids everybody's houses.
Balls.
Crap. But yeah, so I'm really excited. So it'll give you basically 25 to start. So you can put 24 in. It's reloadable, and it doesn't mean there's not enough pressure. Like sometimes you can jam an extra round in there, but there's so much pressure underneath that slide from that round just sitting up on there that you effectively have to be shooting something, I don't know, like a man caliber, like 154 power factor. Oh, hey, I do. Lucky me. And to actually get that slide to move across the top of it before it can strip everything out. But this one,
you're shredding the polymer coating off your bullets as you shoot it out.
You shoot. Just to make sure that first one runs.
And there's enough space. The mag seats reliably. You don't get the bounce click.
I can tell you, if you strip out, you're going to have your initial one that you're going to have to shove in there, just like you would for most of them. But yeah, it's reloadable to number 2 if you strip off that top round.
25 rounds.
Yeah.
Well, of course, if you strip off the top round, it's reloadable. Any magazines like that. But you're saying with 24 in it, you can reliably seat a 24 round.
If I put the 24th in there, then you can hit it in there hard and it'll absolutely seat.
Okay, but
if you're trying to speed load the thing in there like you would if you shot your first magazine, you go to the second one. Almost everybody, in fact, I don't know anybody who doesn't download that second magazine one bullet just so that it makes that much easier.
Yeah, I'm sitting here holding the Glock ones, and there's the Glock follower right there.
So it doesn't have the 2 little feet on the back of it, or kind of the one little big wide foot.
Yeah, it is as minimal as a follower as you can get to probably stick in that 24th round on there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So here, hang on, I'll open up the package.
So they can do that for Glocks too?
Yeah, I have them. I have to borrow a base plate over there so I can actually have a magazine to throw them in.
I've got
nice.
Here. So the one on the left right here that I'm shaking, or I guess it's my left, that is a Grams follower, and then this is the Rune Tactical one. And so you can see
sweet.
If I rotate it like that, you can kind of see the difference in them.
Yeah, and
ragged edge of reliability.
Very much so.
You can kind of see on the coils too. They're a little bit wider coil, and then as the 3 coils step up to the follower, they shrink in diameter. Not diameter of the coil, but they become less wide.
Yeah.
So do you get a spring with the follower?
Yeah, it comes spring and follower. They're $17. He actually, I can't remember what the code is, but he actually gave a code to all the people on the Telegram channel so they could order them. But yeah,
had something to do with fudge, right?
Yeah.
Fudge packing Parafudge.
Aaron, if you're listening, we can't find the old code, so just make the code Parafudge, and then we'll just that way it'll work out for everyone.
Everyone likes fudge.
Yeah. So is that it, Robert?
But yeah, so that's largely what I did. It was a pretty slow week. I had my anniversary on Friday, and that was
nice.
A lot of fun. And so,
congrats.
Thank you. I put up with that woman for 23 years, so we're doing really good. No, it was fun. It was a good time.
She's officially now. Once you pass that mark, if you ever get divorced, she can officially ruin the rest of your life in a divorce. So that's a great thing. Anyways, we went out there and we shot we went out there and we shot the Utah State IDPA match. There hasn't been an IDPA match since 2018 in the state of Utah, and
State match.
The old club, the old IDPA club up here, UDPL, kind of stopped doing IDPA some years ago.
Coincidentally, that was about the time that I left that club.
And then the
causation, correlation, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Totally unrelated.
Totally unrelated.
Wasatch Defensive Shooters up there in Kaysville, they've been going around for a while, and so they decided that they would take on the responsibility of putting on a state match. And they did. And they did a great job. They really did a really solid job. And so we can kind of go through.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, you had 10 stages. Everyone was
Tommy,
yeah.
Really quick, I actually found it. It's a Paragroup 10.
Paragroup 10. Parafudge 10.
PARAGROUP 10.
Parafudge. Well, let's make Parafudge 11% off, and not advertise it.
Ooh.
That's the way to roll.
Yes.
Ooh. Secret squirrel.
So yeah, they went out there and they put it up, and of course I got all certified and everything to go do this. And me and Koski got paired up on the same shooting squad, and we got paired up on the SO, the same squad. I mean the same stage, and I had a ball of a time. I loved it. And even though I came in third in carry optics, which had 9 master class shooters in it, and a ton, like 10% of the shooters, or let's say 8% of the shooters were CEO master class shooters who shot that match. And so
CO was deep. Well, I mean, it's CO's taken over USPSA and it's taken over IDPA.
My favorite things, and I'm sorry if you listen to this show and you're a CO master who showed up, is just like Utah State is the wrong place to try to come snatch a CO master trophy out there, because like we have people who if you shot IDPA in the last 4 years, you don't know anything about. So you're like, who's this Jared Stepp, this Tom Nelson, this Stepan, this Frank Shu? We don't know anything about these guys. Whatever, we'll come in there and do it. And then there was like this chasm there of what was going on there, and it was even a bigger chasm from like
that the surprise motherfucker.
Yes, surprise. We got some guys going out there, and so last weekend, I really been trying to push the speed and do as Robert and Kenny been telling me, and I shot a really good USPSA match, and I was 85% of Kenny with bad points, and I was like, okay, and I was like 6 seconds behind Kenny Terry, so I was like, okay,
that's great. That's a good run.
And then I show up at this IDPA match, and it's me, but Steve's shooting stock service pistol. Now stock service pistol's 15 rounds. So we don't have the same stage plan, and we don't have.
We're renaming that. We're calling that Boomer Bifocal Optics.
On like 90% of the stages, Steve probably didn't even have to reload. It was so weird.
There was about 2 stages that I was able to squeak by without a reload where you guys had to.
But
I also didn't have to think about makeup rounds. Like I could take a couple makeup shots where you guys were like, "No, I have one makeup shot." Or
not
0.
even that.
CO does
a lot of them
isn't 15.
CO is 10.
CO is 10.
Oh.
So and although I do not think it would be as fun in USPSA to only have 10 rounds, shooting 10 rounds with the dot is kind of fun. Because it's just like you're on the ragged edge on some of these things. You're like, because if you want to be competitive, it's like, well, would you like to shoot a 7-round or 8-round array and tack load, and then maybe have another reload later, or would you like to shoot 11 on an activator or something? And then it's like, let's shoot 11. And so there was a lot of 11-round shootings, and like, so I was there, and I was like, we were doing the SO day. And I thought I was going slow, but I was trying to like, let's keep going, let's push it. And then
Yeah, your whole goal was to shoot aggressive, right? You wanted to
don't shoot scared, be aggressive. And when
you did. I mean, your times were great.
Yeah, my times were low. The points down that equated into about 15 seconds. I probably should have left in the targets instead of outside.
15, you meant 31 points down?
Well, I could have done better with
Tommy
14 or so.
If Tommy didn't get that reshoot, then Jared would have taken third place.
You son of a bitch.
Oh, let's not talk about.
Oh my God.
Let's not talk about Mr. Stepp. I've got at least 2 confirmed mics that Mr. Step somehow turned into a down 1 and a down 0. Well, I literally had the SO look at me square in the eye and go, there's a down 3 and a down 1 touching each other, and that I'm sitting here looking at it with him because I filmed Jared, and he goes, I think that's a down 1, and it was a down 1. And then I'm sitting there looking with my mouth agape at it, and then they go, well, what would you call it? And I was like, oh, that one's a down 1. The 3-inch tear in the down 0 from the drop turner going across probably shouldn't score.
Clearly, Tom is prone to exaggerate inches because it was not nearly 3 inches.
It just went from 3 bullet diameters to 3 inches.
We should go ask Anitza what
Tom
says 3 inches is.
Listen.
If it was the length of a blade, I could kill a man with it. Like it was solid enough.
All I'm saying is at least when you guys shot, you had consistent things across the board, because across the entire state of the match, I had multiple things where I got screwed, and I got multiple things where I got blessed. And over the entirety of the match, I think it came out
in the wash.
And so I'm not mad about it, because it's like I got boned on this stage, but God bless me.
I don't understand why
I got boned on this stage, but
why the old UDPL IDPA shooting crowd that travels and stuff didn't show up to this match. I didn't ask. It didn't occur to me till today. Like, why isn't all that crowd there?
Yeah,
not that they have to work it, but why didn't they just come shoot it?
Yeah,
it was odd. I mean, there was like zero. Zero
straight question. Are they still doing IDPA down there? I thought that was done.
Well, I think there's still people who
no, but there's a group that still travels and shot matches in Colorado and here, there, and everywhere.
And it was a great match. Well, I would say there's probably 1.5 stages that were a little off, legal but off, and more prone to subjectivity that IDPA has been trying to purge out of the rule book constantly.
Hobos in a tent.
You get 10%. Like,
yeah, tell me. I saw a video of that. There was like a tarped up thing. What was that? Was that like? Tell me that stage.
So they had a stage in which you had to pick up an axe, and you could throw the axe at a popper, a 4-pound axe at a 30 feet at a popper on the clock, or you could simply just get the axe forward of the forward fault line and then shoot, and then so everything was in tactical priority in the open. And so if depending on where you stood when you engaged one of the targets, it would expose you to the 2 targets in the tent. And so it was.
So the tent is made out of a blue tarp, and it's kind of like a short teepee with a odd-shaped opening. Okay. So it was really hard to tell when you were exposed to the targets that were in the teepee.
Yeah,
and that
it basically
some inconsistent officiating.
It was odd because, like, for me as a man that's 6 feet 2 inches tall, I'm looking down at the teepee and I'm not exposed to it. But as a 5'5" man, I look at the teepee and I might be exposed to it.
Yes.
And so it was just an odd situation where someone, namely me, got a procedural because I didn't shoot at the teepee. I shot at the activator, and they said, no, you needed to shoot at that teepee first because you were exposed to them. And I'm like, bro, they're inside of a tent and I'm shooting at the person directly in front of me. That's absurd.
It very much became one of the old school, like, weird cover calls in IDPA that's gone.
It was odd.
Yeah. And so
I will say this though, of the 10 stages, I only had 3 that were run by Squirrely Dan ROs. The rest of them were absolutely fantastic.
When you say Squirrely Dan,
wonderful.
Are you mean like Squirrely Dan Ward ROs or
no? So there was one group that was like super aggressive about like the videography. They're like, no one with a camera can pass these cones. I'm like, dude, these cones are 20 yards from the like actual cover and like the shooting area. Like, we're way back here. And every other stage, they're like, yeah, you're not supposed to walk through it, but if a videographer would like to come up and video his friend, yeah, we're totally okay with that.
Mhm.
And then some guys were like, no, they can't come on the stage. You have to stay all the way back there. If you'd like a video of it, you can record it from those soccer mom cones 20 yards away. And I'm like, that's a little odd, but okay. But it was just interesting. So you had some guys like that. Then you had some guys making up procedurals that we haven't seen in the entirety of the rest of the match. But they're like, you're in the open right here. I'm like, dude, there's literally a wall in front of me. Like, a genuine wall. I'm in a building. And they're like, no, you're in the open. I'm like,
Yep.
well, what am I supposed to do if I go to slide lock? Not reload? They're like, well, you're supposed to get behind cover. I'm like, bitch, you just said this isn't cover. How is this?
It's
So
it.
there
Yeah.
was that. And then there was one other one where, you know how you're supposed to, when somebody comes to your stage, you look at your paper and you read the paper and say, hello, my name is Chief R.O. Hosky. This is my assistant, R.O. Tom. And you go through and you read the stage brief and you say, you have 5 minutes. Go.
Mm-hmm.
There was this one guy who read, like, he wrote down with a pen and paper this entire thing where he went over like the entire rules of IDPA and was like, you are not allowed to do this. You are not allowed to do this. Also, you're not allowed to do this.
Well,
also, hey, you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do
That's
this.
the Squirrely Dan RO.
I kind of feel
Dan
like
number
that
4.
was kind of half my idea, but it was interpreted wrong because at the end of the SO day, I said, listen, if you have a stage that has some weird stuff, take a cover sheet, print off the rules that might be affecting your range, and hold on, put it in your rule book. Don't talk about it. Don't announce it. Don't bring it up to everybody. But in case you had something, you could bring up the rules, so you knew and could quote the rules.
Right.
Not
Okay, I'm with you there, Tom.
not
Yeah.
list everything. Like,
right. If someone comes up to you and says, hey, am I allowed to do this? You're like, well, this rule here says in this blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Right at whatever.
yeah.
But it was just like, literally, we stood there listening to this guy preach for about 5 minutes, and then he read the walkthrough, and we're just like, bro, this is like stage 8 for us. Can we just like get
Keep it
on
going.
with it?
Yeah.
Let's shoot.
But other than those 3, everything else was fantastic.
Yeah.
Everything else was absolutely fantastic. Fun time, great time, loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a really good time. I mean, I did break the streak of not being muzzled. I had a good 5-year probably streak of not having a gun pointed at me. And we literally show up when we're setting up. And of course, Big Salty he's very table heavy for a range. I mean, it's got tables on one side and outside and everything. And there's tables, right? So there's tables everywhere at Big Salty. It's like reload, bags, everything. And all the actual safe areas are clearly marked. Well, there's a lot of clubs around there where like the table next to a berm.
Any table's a safe area.
Any table in any port in the storm.
That's what
Any
they're
back of
acting
your
like.
car's a safe area if you want it to.
I mean, in a
anywhere's a
3-gun
safe
match,
area.
the whole range is a safe area.
Anywhere's a safe area if you got enough balls to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm the match director, everywhere's a safe area. Let's be honest.
Anywhere's a safe area.
Well, there was like just everyone would be walking up, and then everyone was telling the stories. Like, dude, like there's like 4 shooters over there outside of the safe area, like gearing up. And then like there was one guy who came, and he was on me and Steve's thing, and he pulls out his, and Steve's like, "Hey, that ain't a safe area. The safe areas are marked." And I said, "Yeah, go use a safe area. There's one over there." And like we didn't DQ him. The match.
Boy.
We didn't DQ him, and I was like, "We're being too freaking nice." And I threw a pen at a tree, and then
Robert, there were like 10, 20 people. I'm not even exaggerating. Like on every single bay, there was some guy with a gun pointing it at the wall, just at every single table. I was like, bro, what is happening? Oh my lord!
We only saw it once.
I thought IDPA was supposed to be all about that tactical, not shooting somebody and don't sweep people alive, but apparently not.
Well,
they didn't.
The same shooter, the same shooter we saved from not being DQ'd for pulling his gun out, not a safe area. Me and Steve thought we would have more of a 180 problem on our range, on our stage. We only have like 2 guys get close, and then one guy didn't even get close, but then he started to fall as he rounded it, and while he was coming with his finger on the trigger, and he's coming in there, and then he starts doing this, and then he does the back
I'm
there
falling,
like and
the windmill with the arm.
the windmill with the arms, and poor Thomas Nelson was the offside RO SO, and he literally does the crossbar, and I kind of do the thing, and I'm like, and like my brain's saying like, draw on the guy or run away, and then Steve's like, stop, and then I'm like, that's right, those are the words, stop.
It was the best though, because you
has
love it.
PTSD from like that time when we both got muzzled by that guy.
The best is when you call stop, and before you finish the P, the other SO is already calling stop. I'm like, okay, I wasn't the only one that saw that.
Stepan's to my left, and I sit there and I turn and I look at him, and he walks up with his watch and goes, 10/8/2022, your new birthday, where you got to live again. And I'm like, like he saw the pails of my eyes go there for a second. So yeah,
man.
But we only had to DQ one shooter. We only had 3 DQs for the entire match, and so that worked out pretty great. The stages, besides the one stage, in the open stage, well, maybe like 2 stages, it was a fun IDPA match. Like, it was a fun IDPA match, and they brought out the activators, and they were.
Who would have thought to see a winger at an IDPA match?
Yeah, and
that was the first time I ever saw one, actually.
Big Salty really helped them out.
Idaho. Yeah, Idaho was the first time I ever saw one of those crazy little targets, and they were, at the time, I thought that was the most like intimidating thing I had ever seen in my life. Just watching that thing go, and I was just like,
Farley Collins winger, awesome target, great target.
It is a great target. It is a really good target.
Yeah, and so we had plenty of activating targets. We had stuff that would make you not challenge the rule book, but will like give you options inside the rule book to kind of shoot things different ways. And so it was really a fun time. And for an IDPA match, you could be aggressive with it, especially because like almost every stage had some sort of activating target, and because those activated targets can be shot kind of in any order. It gave you some options on how you want it to go about shooting them, and so it was a lot of fun. And of course,
and even one stage where on the main match day, people figured out, oh, you don't have to activate this target. You can just run around over here and shoot it over here. And a bunch of people did that on the main match day, but I don't think it helped them at all. We looked at their times and we looked at our times, and we shot it just as well, activating it and shooting it active.
Yeah, and so it reminded me of like back in the old days, and like I kind of want to get some of these for the club. But remember the old leg targets where you'd be prone, you'd smack the leg bar down, and the body would drop, and then you would shoot the body.
Those were fun.
Those were like a ton of fun, and so they're still in the rule book. So I think that would be kind of neat. But it was really fun, and then me and Steve I think we had the best stage of the freaking match to SO. I mean, it was
very exciting.
We had
a drop turner and one of those up-down bobbers where you just get one exposure.
Yeah, it was.
They were both fast, and they were both right at the same time. So you're like if you don't have a plan, you're just going to fire 4 rounds out there and hit nothing. And about a third of the shooters, that's exactly what happened to them.
And the fun thing is that they were set off by a bear trap. And so, like the stomp trap, and so what was funny is they had the start of the stage is you had to draw and shoot 2 out of retention, stomp or drop a can of ammo, an ammo can on this trap, and then shoot the 2 targets. And what was so funny is like maybe 30 or 40% of the shooters, because you're so used to having moving targets being activated off of something that you shot, they would draw, go pop pop. And then they go like, I have to step. Now I step. And then they'd shoot the other ones. But like people would see them, and like for a drop turner and a bobber off of a stomp plate, like they were sporty. They were a sporty set of drop turner and a bobber, and it was fun.
They were fast.
And they weren't close enough. They weren't close enough. You could just point shoot at them. Like you had to put your sights on them.
Although
you had to actually aim.
Some of them did. Like some people, like we would have like a squad that would have like, down 2 or down 3 on those moving targets, and then like you'd have like this squad, like this new squad would come along, and it's like, oh, they all have glaucoma at the same time, and like they'd be like down 10, down 6, down 8, and it was just like, So what's happening? And it didn't seem like there was like a huge disparity, but it was fun because we also had a new SO named Dustin Lyon, and he came helped us, and we had 3 SOs. We're watching every angle, and about 2 shooters in, we're like, you know what? The offside RO is picking up all these magazines because we gotta check, see if ammunition's in the magazines before any of the shooters get them. And so that was even more fun, and it was a great time, and we had to.
We had a couple speed loads, maybe 3 speed loads.
Yeah, couple speed loads, and then we had some people who were we had one girl who was new, and she put a 1911 magazine with only 2 rounds in her pouch.
That was the worst.
And so what's worse is like she gets to a spot and fires 2 rounds, and then she has to do a reload. But not only that, but an IDPA because she didn't load a division capacity. I gotta go.
She gets a penalty.
I'm sorry. That magazine was only loaded to 2 rounds, and she goes, "Yeah, it
You're
was
a monster.
It was only loaded to 2 rounds." I'm like, that was not division capacity. And she goes,
and like a 45-year-old man, you'd be like, eat it. But she's like 17. She's shooting this 1911 that weighs as much as she does, and you're like, oh, really? I got to give her a penalty.
But it was.
You were evil.
Yeah, it was great.
It's been like, I saw how you shot the stage. You need all the points you can get, so I'm not gonna double down and kill you.
Well, that's the funny thing is like there was a lot of people who did not drop points, and it was very rare. I mean, Walt and Austin Prue showed up, and Walt won CDP, and of course Austin's we had 2 distinguished masters at this match. Austin, who's a DM, shot CCP and shot the 2nd fastest time, but like there is plenty of good shooters who were not dropping lots of points, and so it was a lot of fun. It was I love IDPA. Like I just love the heck out of it. I think
Wait, you got to tell about the guy who shot at retention for like half the stage.
One of our local shooters.
So like
so on the draw, before you drop the ammo can or step on the bear trap, there's a target a yard away from you with the circle cut out, and you fire 2 rounds of that from retention. So with your arm or your wrist or your something touching your body, you blast 2 rounds at it, and then you tell the rest off.
Okay, so and this is so like the last Wasatch Shooters defensive match we shot through the Red Hat Dean. Really, a guy stayed with us, helped us with a bunch of stuff, was in our squad. We just had a great time with him. And like we were sitting there, and what happened was he like lost it there for a second because he knew it like all went to crap. So he shoots from retention, gets the first one, and then stomps it and activates. And instead of bringing the gun up to the drop turner, he just mainly keeps his arms down at retention, turns his body, fires 2 at the drop turner, and then's like, oh, I should probably get a sight picture, but that bomber's coming up pretty quick. So instead of like bringing it up to his eye, he like brings it out to his chest and then fires 2 more. But
it was the old gunfighter stance where you just center the body in the middle of your gun and fire away.
But it was like I think he was maybe down like 4 and like down like 6. So like he got hits on the targets, and so it's like, oh, okay. But
it's not bad.
There was some fun stuff. Like people would come by and they're like, I don't see how we're gonna get out of the stage with you guys. You just got to take 5 points down on the stage, and it's just like, dude, don't ask us how we shot this because we you can shoot this pretty clean. You can shoot it pretty clean, but it was a lot of fun, and there was just great stuff. And I mean, the one thing that kind of hurts my heart a little bit is the no procedurals for non-shooting actions. So, like, if you have to push something or carry something or say something, you can no longer be given a procedural for that stuff. And so, like Jared was talking about when we went to dinner last night, it just kind of takes away a little bit of the fun.
You can't say carry the baby, put the baby over in the basket.
Yeah. You can't say put the baby down. You can't do these stupid things where you
can say it, but they can't give you a penalty for it.
Well, and that was the fun of IDPA for me. The fun of IDPA was trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to do this? I'm going to palm the baby's head like this and run around and just shoot all.
At least you can still specify the start position. You can.
Yeah, but even that, like reading on a couple of the things, they said like, oh, you have to start holding the money bag in your offhand. and then you have to hold the money bag in your offhand. Then in your strong hand, you will shoot the targets.
Yep.
And then they're like, the ROs are like, you don't have to keep holding it. You can do whatever you want. and so it's like, oh, you mean I don't have to hold this? No. But it says I have to hold this. Yeah, just, fuck them. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that came up a lot.
And there's
really?
There's one stage that
I like these ROs.
There's one stage that had a no shoot and then a swinger in front of the no shoot, and they were activated by pushing a popper down, which was supposed to be like a kid. You push this popper down and everything's supposed to go right.
You push a kid down?
You push a kid down and then it activates the swinger. And
either a kid or a midget.
And so people were like, well, I'm not going to push this down because I'll shoot this swinger. It's a little tight, but not super tight. And I'll just shoot this, not have it move. It turned out not to be a big time difference for a lot of people pushing it versus not pushing it. But it's just stuff like that, which is like, it's stuff you would like to do. But the other part is too, it's like what IDPA has learned is like they don't want to have these things that are like, well, you didn't say the correct words. Like if there's overzealous SOs who are like, oh, he's in my division, so I'm going to bone him. But
that's the worry thing that's the thing that just scared me with IDPA, because there were a lot of ROs at the match who were there to have fun and to help the guys have fun and say, look, hey, this is close. We don't do overlays, so you know what? I'm giving it to you.
Yeah.
And then you have other ROs who are like, I'm gonna bone this guy right in his buttholes. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, that's unnecessary.
It's
no, what it is they look at the score pad and they see that you're shooting the same division and class as them, and they're like, it's a no shoot. Sure, sir, there was no shoots on that. It's 2 no shoots if you don't shut up.
What is this? It's unfortunate.
Well,
is all I'm saying.
And it wasn't. Well, from my experience, it wasn't that bad at that match, and we did our best to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and the score they earned. But we definitely, if that down one was too far out or whatever like that, like, hey, you got a down one on that. Where that's a down one all day long. And so we just tried to sit there and have a decent time. And believe me, there's points I wanted back, and there's points that I could have argued about, but
after you got that one back, you're like, okay, well, the gods have blessed
me.
I
will thank Steve Koski for his he's like, it doesn't specify your hand position, so we're like, we're just going to start with our hand on the gun.
So most of the
what?
Yeah.
Hold on.
So you had to start. What else?
The money bag. You had the money bag.
Yeah, so the money bag.
You
start with the money bag in your
sons of bitches
in your weak hand. So we put our strong hand on the gun, and the SO. He didn't say anything to Tom, but then he said something to me, and I said, no, it doesn't specify, so I think you can. And he let us start that way.
I like how Tom
and then
Steve
Tom
just says, excuse me, I can do what I want.
Well, Steve Koski has a lot of street cred in IDPA, so if Steve Koski starts doing something.
Which is funny because years ago, I think I was involved with this rule book change, with the wording in the rule book, to ask them to add that, like, if it's not specified, the default start position is like hands relaxed at your sides, which now it doesn't say relax. It says arms resting
naturally or something.
Something like that. But anyway, you can't have your hand on the gun. Your hands have to be at your sides, relaxed. So I didn't remember that. So Tom and I started with our hands on the gun. Tom, there's 3 targets you got to shoot strong hand only. Bang, 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 bang. Tom goes, bang, 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 and he leaves. And the whole squad just, like, everyone's head turns. And it's like, why did he shoot 1 round at those targets? And he finishes up and he's smiling. He's got his fancy sporty tie.
That was like me at the Carolina Classic there, big guy.
And and I'm like, Tom, you only fired 4 shots at the start. Why did you shoot? And he's like, well, damn it. And then I still don't remember this rule, right? And so he's like, are you sure we're allowed to start with our hand on the gun? I'm like, well, I'm not sure, because I couldn't remember. And I was like, why don't you ask Ray what the rule is? And Ray's like, no, your hands, they look it up in the rule book. And they're like, no, the default position, if it doesn't specify, is hands resting at your sides. And so like, yep, that's a reshoot.
And
so we had to go back and shoot it. So of course,
Wow.
Tom shoots it in like 15 seconds down 0, and I shoot it like 3
I wouldn't
seconds
have given him
slower.
the reshoot. I would have given him procedural for starting with his hand on the gun.
That's
You were
the rule
telling
book.
me-
The rule book.
I know, right?
Yeah, I think both
You-
IDPA and USPSA, like you're not supposed to start the shooter until they're in the correct starting position,
And
which is
if-
a great rule.
and if
Like,
they-
rather
it-
than hand them a penalty.
Oh my gosh.
Aha,
Let's
Yeah,
get.
you didn't start in the right position.
Wait.
I gotta write
Tom,
this down real quick.
Tom,
Hold on. I gotta write this word down so I don't forget the story. Go ahead.
you're sassing me for getting a point, for not getting 3 points, for getting a
points.
mic when
10
I hit
points.
the target. I actually shot the
I
target.
got a
but it was
reshoot. I got a
little
legal reshoot. What do you want from me? What do you want from me?
I
Listen,
want 0.5 seconds from you,
Listen.
and then I'll beat your ass into the ground.
Listen.
That's what I want.
listen, mother effer. Listen, mother effer. That God giveth and God taketh away. Speaking of rattling people's nerves and wanting time back,
Okay.
So just so
Okay.
everyone knows, Tom's final time was 194.13. Jared's final time was 194.56.
and the only way that this happened is I used the magic mirror and became Jared, and then Jared became me. That was the
And you
only way that
became-
this happened.
And you became Steppen and became a cheater, pumpkin eater.
Oh, okay, listen,
Oh,
take his score. I get him at the night match, and I get him at this match, and all of a sudden I'm terrible.
Oh,
I'm a bad
This is what
boy.
we're gonna do. Next
Oh.
next time you want to duel, we have to be on the same squad so we can cheat the same way.
Well, we're not fine,
I like the way you think about these things.
and we'll have the friend code, which is like we'll put pieces of tape on our wrist at the beginning of the day, and it's like, look, if you screw this up, I'll tape that target early. But listen, I'm only doing it twice, and when you run out, it's like I'm already out.
You get one mulligan. You get one mulligan. That's it.
You rack the slide 4 times. Remember when guys used to do that? Oh, we'll rack the slide 4 times. That means tape it early. Get the hell out of here. I got this. The magic word stop.
Speaking of which, those guys showed up at your match.
Yeah. Well, it was not as bad as it used to be, but I remember that gang going around and doing that stuff. But there was going to be none of that stuff on stage 5. I'll tell you what. We were not even going to allow people to creep because Steve managed to scare the shit out of 2 people.
Oh yeah,
So-
he did.
Me and Steve swapped off CSO rule, and I'd be the CSO, I'd be the chief scoring safety officer, and Steve would be offside. And Steve, because he would be checking for retention, and so he would see their dominant hand. And so I'm back to the left because the shooter has to retreat and shoot to the right. And so I'd be like, "Are you ready? Stand by." And then I'd hit the beat, but Steve would be, "Stop." And then people would be like, jittered.
It only
Just-
happened twice.
No. Well, it's not like normal. If you hear a normal person say stop, it's one thing. But if you hear Steve motherfucking Cosby say stop, you're like, oh, I'm dead. I am done. I am
No,
slain.
it wasn't. You guys are so full of crap.
And so these guys would be down, and Steve.
It wasn't like that. I mean, Steve, he yells stop, and I mean, like you look over and like he's already got like the little awl, and he's like notching another like win into his.
Yeah. He's calling
they-
the range master over.
Stop.
I got
They
one.
just jumped the buzzer, and rather than let them, you just stop them,
and
put
we,
the gun back in the holster, and start again.
and so that was
I think from now on, if we're being the ROs and we have to yell stop on somebody, we need to do like that chick up in Minnesota or whatever, like that sectional match where it's like stop.
well, there's got to be there's not another word that you can use that means stop what you're doing and we'll restart the stage, because the word that means that your match is over also means we need to start you over.
Yeah, we need something good like be cool, motherfucker.
It's cool. No, you know what? I actually have to do that sometimes where I call people. I'm like, hi, this is the police. No one's dead. It's fine. It's cool.
It's cool. It's cool.
No, no kidding.
I just have a very basic question. It's nothing serious, all right? Like, no one's in jail. No one's died. All right. Okay, cool.
That would have been really helpful, like when they actually showed up at my house.
But yeah, it was fun because there's one guy that we had to wait for some reason, and then Steve he starts going and I'm SO and he gets the stop and he's like kind of like jolted by it because we like iced him for a second because we had to fix something or get a timer. He was the first shooter. Then he just said like that. It was fun.
You said stand by and you're about to press the beep and he starts drawing and then you beep. Geez. And so he was already drawing the gun. So I mean, Steve was absolutely 100% correct.
Correct. He was.
He was 100% correct to say stop, but it was just really funny because the poor guy was just like,
what I do.
He was already wound so tight, he was jumping the buzzer. That just served to wind him even tighter.
Oh man, that was a rough one, but that was funny.
So we get through all this and it's fine, and we're all talking about how we shoot and whatever, and Steve's been talking about the whole time, well, I think I'll be top 5 and stock service pistol. I'm just not as fast as I used to be. And then we get to the end of match day and we're pulling down the practice score competitor and we're like looking at this and I'm like, oh, Steve's at the top, and then Jeffrey Yerger's just a hair below him, and I'm looking at all these other guys like, oh, these guys didn't show up, and there it goes, and and Steve had a pretty competitive time. And Steve walked away, so still undefeated and still reigning stock service pistol champion of Utah, Mr. Steve Koski.
No, Yay. I've been defeated.
Yeah.
You can call me the reigning champion, but I've definitely been defeated.
By who?
I don't know. Yeah, probably. I definitely haven't won all the time.
On everybody for a while.
Yeah, and so Steve came out with it, and it was fun.
It was a miracle.
Thank
God for Carry Optics sucking all the talent. All the cool kids have fled stocks. I mean, stock service pistol was the jam, right?
Yes, it was.
It was a bigger than the other divisions. It was the main division.
But it was.
I still like calling it Boomer Bifocal.
Boomer Bifocal. Boomer Optics.
Go ahead.
I was just saying I used Tom's vest for the first half of the match, and like half the RO said it was okay, half the RO said it wasn't okay. So I used Steve's vest for the other half of the match. And all I'm saying, as soon as I put Steve's vest on, it just shit started to come together, and I had 0 points down every single stage. Every single stage. I wore Tom's vest. It was like 4 or 5 points down per stage.
Reshoot, left, right, center.
So Tom and Jared both beat me by 20 seconds in the match. I think I only beat them. Jared, did I beat you on the standard stage? That might be the only stage. That's the only stage I beat Tom on. I beat you by what, 3 or 4 seconds?
On that stage.
Yeah.
I shot it clean, but I was slow, and Tom shot it down like 7.
Yeah,
I shot it down 8.
But sporty, but very sporty times. So you ended up like 4 seconds behind me or something on that.
Something like that, yeah. Yep.
On that stage, but that's the only stage I took away from Tom. Other than that, every single stage he took another second or 2 or 3 away from me and ended up 20 seconds ahead.
That's the way to do it. Just keep beating him by that much time, and eventually it adds up.
Well, and we're talking.
But Steve shot such a damn good match. I mean, you had great points.
Well, you
shot consistent as all get up.
This is my.
All I'm saying.
Go ahead, Steve.
Steve was the only one who actually got a real trophy.
Yeah, that's true. I'll
my trophy isn't real, and your trophy.
My trophy's not. He got most intoxicated law enforcement. I got most intoxicated staff, and we weren't even drunk.
Big truth.
But the one thing that I was hypothesizing about Steve, because we haven't shot a whole lot of IDPA, but we've shot so much USPSA in the game, is that our perception of what quick was back in the IDPA days and what our idea of what quick was in the USPSA days, Steve didn't really. He got better and better and better and better at that game, and then when he came back, he felt like he was shooting slow, like I did. I felt like I was shooting horribly slow because our metronomes are a little bit off, and we come to the end of it, and Steve's like, "Well, there you go." Like Walt Prue's been shooting CDP for freaking years and hasn't stopped shooting, and Steve got him by a few seconds, and it was just like it's all coming together. So it was very fun to see Steve win another IDPA state match. It just felt like everything was right.
Ooh, did you win high senior this time too?
Walt? Yeah, who won high senior?
I like how there's distinguished senior in IDPA versus super senior. Super senior kind of makes what sense, but like distinguished senior makes it sound like old people get like fancy.
Yes.
Yeah, like no, old people don't get fancy. Old people get gross. Like, there's a difference. Distinguished senior. I liked that though. I didn't know that was a thing.
It was a great match, and we had a ton of fun, and it was awesome. It was a good time to go out there and do stuff, and it was just, I loved it. And the one thing is, it was like it didn't even feel like 2 days of work and shooting. It felt like 2 half days, because it went over pretty quick with tearing down and award ceremony and us leaving the range at like 5 on the second day with free food and everything like that and plenty of water. I mean, it was, but as far as working and shooting, it was like 2 half days, and it was awesome. And
yeah, 10 stages or 11 if you count the warm up, which is fairly simple. We're done by what, 3:30 or something the first day, and we're done shooting on the main match day by 2:30.
And I absolutely love the idea of having that 11th warm up stage on there. I almost think that you could have like you could have like 2 mini stages built on top of them, like kind of like that warm up stage, and then have like another like 6 or 7 round little couple target setup that you could do. We're gonna do this stage, the main stage, and then this other stage afterwards, especially if you have enough space in between this squads.
Yeah, if you have that, can totally be worked into a match flow and work out excellent. We used to see that at nationals all the time. You'd have kind of a shortest stage, and then you just walk over and shoot this other 6-round stage, and then it would take about the same time as the bays in front of and behind you. And nice match flow. You got another stage.
Yeah, and it works out.
The match flow, that's one thing I will say about the matches. The match flow was very, very good. We never had to wait on anyone in front of us ever, literally, which was incredibly impressive. The squad behind us had to catch up to us a couple times, but that was partly because 2 people from squad 10 was like, I don't believe in that 0. I'm going to go to squad 1. And so we got 2. We got 2 of the people from squad 10 on squad 1. And so we had like the largest we had the largest squad of the day or something. And the squad behind us was down 2 while we were up 2. And so for whatever reason, they just said,
people off.
Well, yeah, that's what I would have thought. It would have been like, oh no, you're actually in squad 10. Go on now, get.
Yeah.
But instead they were like, that's fine. It's okay. He's okay. Everything's okay. And so they just let him shoot with us the whole day, which is fine because they were cool guys. But it was unfortunate because squad 10 was on our tail the entirety of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
But we were the caboose, definitely, the entire match, because we had so many stupid people in our squad and we were just butt scooting along with our giant squad.
The nice thing about having those 18-round stages or a little bit shorter is like your turnaround time per shooter and per squad is just super high. You just go through there, they score their tape, and especially if you don't have much setup on the stage, it just gets through. Tyrell Kelsey did not have the match he wanted to. He was all sad for right around the time they start drawing names for the prize table. And then as soon as he won a gun, he seemed to be all smiles. So
I know.
Funny how that worked.
He was so happy. It was great.
So it was all good. We loved it. And go ahead.
Tyrell actually was having a hell of a match. Like, he beat me a handful of stages. Yeah. And then we got to your stage, and I don't know if you guys got in his head or what.
Well, that's when Jared got Steve's vest.
That was when I got Steve's vest. But poor Tyrell, like, you guys crawled into his brain and did something awful to him. But poor Ty, on your guys' stage, he had a terrible brain fart. I was like, reload. Oh shit, reload. Wait, no, wait. Oh, reload. And just poor Ty.
I was going to punch him in the face to give him a reshoot, but I just couldn't muster the strength to do it. He's like, please. He was like, at the end, he gave me the look like, why didn't you steamroll me? I thought you were my friend.
Dad?
Bump me, Tom.
You should have tripped me.
Oh yeah. Man. But he was doing so good. Like, he beat me on the first couple stages. Yeah. He was doing solid. And then we got to your guys' stage, and it was just like he had a brain fart. And the problem with IDPA is you have one brain fart, it'll get you. And so he's like, oh shit, I need to reload now, and then I'm gonna shoot. Wait, no, now I'm panic, and then it's just.
Then you have one standing reload.
Yeah.
Then you end up with another standing reload.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I will get to the questions after this, but that's the one thing that I kind of like about IDPA, but is also scary about IDPA is like when you have like a marginal to bad stage, it's like, especially if it's in the morning, it's like we're carrying this little demon on our backs all day,
right?
And we gotta cut little pieces of them off on every stage. And so if you don't find the motivation to shoot fast, like 1 down 6 in the morning will give you a lot of encouragement to start shooting fast.
Luckily for Ty, that stage with you guys where he had just an absolute meltdown, and he was, I think, like 20 seconds above where he was supposed to be, and he was just furious with himself, and he was just like, God, I'm ruined. The next stage, he went full F it, and was just like, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and just was like, bah, 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 bah. And it worked though. And so he connected on everything, and he's just like, you know what, this is okay. And so he was able to stay into it, and he stuck with it throughout the rest of the match, and he did good. But it was just like that one stage. It was seriously like, what, 15 seconds or something? Like it was a...
Yep.
That hurt.
That is rough.
Me and him were... I think I was 2 seconds ahead of him on that stage. Like, for the whole match, I was barely 2 seconds ahead of him, if that. Like, we were neck and neck all the way up to that point, and then he had that, and he's just like, I hate everyone.
Yep.
I mean, he didn't have a bad match. He was only 230 seconds. That's not bad.
No, and that's the thing. He did good. It's just that one stage really hurt.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's hard to come back from, like what Tom was saying.
Yeah,
especially in IDPA.
It's like you can have that on stage 1, 2, or 3, but man, once you get into those middle stages, that is not something you can come back to. And the only stage that you make up any of that stuff is like, here's the 30-yard standard stage, and you're like, well, I'm going to draw the gun and split the trigger as fast as I can, and if I make it up and we get better, we get better. But anyways, dominate defense. Head on over there, PARA10. Get the finest belt you can possibly get. Also, some of the greatest apparel. I wore my, I forgot my match shirt in my other car, so I wore dominate defense. Everyone was giving me crap, so.
Free advertising. Way to go, dominate.
Yeah, love you, Jason. And also head over to Precision Holsters. We saw so many people rocking the fast holsters in the magazine pouches. Like, man, people love them in IDP. The pros were running them. It was absolutely fantastic to see the support that they got. Also, check them out. Great holster. PARA10 for that one to save 10% off. Telegram questions. Robert, go.
From JC, how can USPSA address the annual 5,000 member turnover rate? Well, that's actually really easy. You see, if you change your membership renewal rate to every 2 years, then you not really notice it as much.
Yeah, just change the accounting.
Exactly. We cooked the books with the rest of them.
Well, how many do we get a year? So is it a net loss of 5,000, or is that just what we see turned over? Because if I see 5,000
annually, you turn over about 7,000 members every single year. So you have to essentially basically bring in 7,000 people just to stay at center.
Yeah. I would imagine there's a lot of guys who go out there, they shoot 2 matches in April. They decide they're going to become members. They shoot 1 more match in May, and then they're like, all right, moving on from there.
Yeah, that's actually the truth. The reality is all of these games, whether it's 3-gun, IDPA, USPSA, they're all disposable income games, and people get into them, and they're really excited, and they'll stick around for a little while, but they will run out of money, find other things in life that are just as important, or whatever, and they'll be gone. And that's just the nature of it. And so this idea of, we want to grow the sport. Sure, yeah, you want to grow the sport. I totally get that. But, there's no free lunch. If you grow the sport, then it makes it harder to get into matches. It makes it harder to get into matches, then, you have to deal with that. I don't think you're ever going to get rid of people leaving the game.
Yep.
The only thing you can do is just try and get more people to come in and just keep jamming them in on the front end.
The best way I think they could counter that is focus on having one match in all the regions where it's like, this is an absolutely bonkers fun. This is a great match. This is a fun match. Everyone loves shooting this match.
Like,
and in order to like whatever match it is.
I'm saying. Yeah.
But you want to have a fun match, but you need to have that match be, in order to shoot this match, you need to be a USPSA member. It needs to be a level 2 match, but it needs to be absolutely fun. And so everybody's like, you know what? I'll pay the $100 to shoot that match, and I'll do the. How much is USPSA a year?
If you're smart, you get in on the associate membership. Never, ever, don't ever pay for the full membership. That's a sucker's bet. Nobody except for boomers reads that magazine.
Jesus.
I'm just saying.
But how much is that a year?
Buy the associate member.
How do we grow the sport? By not giving them $15. That's how we grow the sport.
Hey, I'm trying to grow the sport by saving people money because they can take that money and they can buy primers with it.
But
I think about these things.
If they did that, if they had a match that was absolute blast, that was like a must-go-to match.
Yeah.
But you had to be a member to shoot that. That's why I signed up to be an IDPA member, was to go shoot this WDSA match. I don't care about being a member, but if I have to be a member, all right, I'll become a member and I'll shoot the match and it'll be fun and it'll be worth it.
I don't know how you do this.
Exactly why I don't shoot IDPA is because I have to be a member.
Also true.
I think if more shooters were invited out to lunch after a match, or just had more of a social connection at the match, would probably take that number from 5,000 to 4,000. I mean, it's never going to zero it because life's complicated.
I think you're right, Steve. I mean, a lot of people talk about, like USPSA is infinitely more fun than IDPA, but IDPA has much more of a camaraderie and a family element. I mean, kind of that we're all in a brotherhood together than USPSA does.
Mormon factor.
That would be also effective.
As the man in the white shirt says.
A lot of people I've heard actually have said that about IDPA. IDPA really does have more of that camaraderie than USPSA does.
Yeah, it seems to have a. Well, I think that's kind of it's a little bit smaller of a group, but more of those people.
The redheaded stepchild syndrome.
Yeah.
All the redheads stick up for each other.
Quite possibly. Let's see. Single action only carry optics was discussed in USPSA board minutes. Do you think such a division will grow the sport as a funnel for new shooters? It seems there is little reason for established CO shooters to move to a division like proposed, unless they really like 2011s and magwells. And then following on that, well, we'll ask that in a second.
Nothing's going to grow the sport unless the thing that grows the sport is people want to be better with the handgun, and basically like the internet, YouTube, and all that stuff. That's kind of what pushes people into competition, and then like going to the range. It's like the idea of paying $20 and shooting a bunch of cool stuff than just standing there and shooting at a target. That will get people in. I don't think anything that has to do with the divisions necessarily brings people into the sport.
Other than keeping current with the times, like adding the dot and creating carry optics was clearly a good move. So you got to stay current with the times, but adding an 8th and a 9th and a 12th and a 16th division.
Yeah,
did that really grow Steel Challenge?
Exactly. I don't think we should add another division, but I also think the question is this. Is a full tilt SIG Legion or a full tilt Shadow or even a full tilt Glock, if you want to go full retard and put all the brass in there and the Timney trigger where you're shooting a 1 pound, 5 ounce trigger out of a Glock, like, are those firearms better or worse than a Staccato?
I think IDPA
is there an unfair advantage by shooting a single action firearm, a Staccato, versus those guns?
Well,
I would argue
versus a DASA on the initial, yes.
Yeah,
but
so look at
after
limited. What are the top shooters shooting in limited for the past?
The people who are winning are starting to be shooting strikers. Yeah.
Well, they're moving
Crazy, right?
Over the past since the dawn of limited division.
Well, you can't.
What
do
guns
that 'cause,
are
I mean,
usually shot?
I mean, I understand that, but as time progresses, so too does the technology, which is why we now have this discussion about single action only carry optics. But the guns that are starting to win limited are striker guns.
Because of a very good shooter being sponsored by a striker-fired company.
Yeah,
It's like saying
money.
That's like saying when Bob Vogel was winning IDPA that Glocks beat 2011s.
They did though.
I would
agree. What are you trying to say to Steve?
Well,
I'm trying to say that steel frame single action guns are better competition guns.
Well, but in the same point, we're also saying that better shooters can shoot what gun they want because they're better shooters, right? So it's like I really do believe that at least in the context of like an IDPA, like those things go together quite well. Like they really do go together quite well. I mean, there's no bigger option of array of what's legal in a division than IDPA carry optics. Every action type is allowed. Magwells are allowed. And as long as they meet under 45 ounces, anything can go pretty much within that division. I mean, so like...
Yeah, I'm not a fan of having another division in USPSA, but I can see why people are. And I can see why some people argue that single action guns should be allowed into CO, and I can see why some people are saying, nope, that's got to be its own division, and why some people are saying, it's fine how it is. Why screw with it?
Yeah, well, the one thing is too that is appealing for me to letting those guns into CO is the maximal amount of competition it will bring into that division. I mean, it's an all-encompassing black hole now, and I kind of want it to gobble up more. I love it.
The question that I always keep asking is, how do you create a division that doesn't cannibalize all the other divisions? Because if you're gonna create this new division called single action only carry optics, you're going to take away from another division. Now, some people could argue, well, that's just the natural course of evolution. That's what's going to happen. And I get that. But if you're going to make something new, you need to make something new that has its own distinct place without taking away from something else. And that's all that carry optics did, was it took away from production, it took away from limited, it's starting to take away from open. And if we suddenly put slide ride optics on 2011s, then
it's going to take away more
from limited and open, and it's just going to eventually we're going to come back to that original place, basically limited and open.
That's all right.
It's easy to say that's all right until you're in the position of having to create these divisions, understanding that if you take something away from people, you're gonna make people more upset than if you just created something brand new.
It's an open question. I don't have the answer. Does anybody have a proposal or the answer?
Well,
we can't talk about this forever because it seems like this comes up and we talk about it for a half hour on every show.
I will just say this.
True.
Is that we're trying to come up with constructs that stop people from making the individual choice of what they want to do on their weekend. And if 80% of the people want to shoot in CO, guess what's going to happen? Those people are going to go shoot in CO. And if they want to shoot in open or limited or do whatever, there's nothing that you can do that's going to constrain that person to not go and move into those divisions. And so, like, where they want to shoot is where they're going to shoot. And what's going to happen with that is, like, there's going to be a fat chick at the dance with her name as Gina Production, and no one's taking her to the dance floor. That's what's happening. We're selecting. And as technology gets better, old things will go away. And this is what's going to happen. So we're not going to be able to create anything or curtail any division not to take away from anybody else's. Because as soon as somebody likes something else, which is a personal choice, they will go and do that thing. So.
And your rules proposal is? Just don't have one.
Single action CO.
Just let them in. Let them into CO.
And if it becomes CO Unlimited, and that's what USPSA looks like, and if you guys would like to have fun in these other divisions, fine.
Okay.
That's the answer for today. Thanks, Tom.
How much money how much money is a reasonable amount for a manufacturer to give USPSA to introduce a new division for guns they make? If we got enough of these divisions, could the budget deficit be solved?
Well, I would. So this is like the new thing is like the SIG X5 226 X5 single action only. It's all optics cut, but guess what? It's a limited minor gun that's in single action only because you can't have single action only in CO yet. This is my proposal. Yeeman, if you're listening, baby, this is what you need to do. SIG, we will let single actions into carry optics. You buy every one of your Legion people who buy that gun a 3-year membership to USPSA.
Better yet, could I just get some of that sweet, like 124 power factor ammo that seems to always be getting past?
No.
I mean, I'd be totally down with that.
Listen, you son of a bitch, that ammo stays at headquarters. You understand me? At headquarters. But I would say, like, listen, if a company wants to invest that much in USPSA and wants to make that change, like, all you single action guys, hey, include a 3-year membership in the price. We'll give you a discount on it. And you put that in there.
You're not going to get the magazine, but we'll give you.
We're not going to get the magazine. You'll get the discount.
So you're saying USPSA can be bought?
If I would say I would more like them.
Anyone could be bought.
Well, Jake Martin straight up said that USPSA could be bought on a podcast when he said that he wouldn't review any gun that didn't actually give USPSA sponsorship money. So yeah, apparently they can be bought.
There's different model. Yikes. There's different model lines that are directly made for competition. The Rival, the Legion series, that new X5 Legion, the Shadow 2s, and there's people who buy them who will like, I just want a really cool gun. And what a boon to USPSA if that came with a membership for those people to go like, here's your really cool gun that the competitive shooters that you like to watch shoot fast shoot. And guess what? There's the range. And guess what? You're now a member. So if I would definitely venture the point is like, please, on these special competition models, please give them a membership. And even if that membership is free for that first time, just for that purchase to get it, like, we'll make it on the return because 20% of those people will renew, and then we'll get that number up.
There you go.
From Seabass, has Tom figured out the line you're supposed to not cross before getting banned?
I don't. Yeeman's in the chat. Ask him.
Nice try, FBI.
What's your guys' opinion on the new single action only 226 X5?
It's beautiful.
It's a warmed over 226, which is already a piece of shit gun.
I don't understand why people are saying it's new. I mean, this gun, the X5 has existed for a while, and they're making it again, but it's the same. It's the same gun.
That's all X5 does, though, dude.
Yeah, well, X5s are nice guns. Like, they're cool.
Very cool guns.
They're very Gucci. You know, when you hold it, you can talk like this. It's a German, and you could be like, "Wow, this gun is so nice." But that's about it. I mean, you can't really do anything with it.
No, you can't.
I mean,
it's
cool.
Yeah, it is a refined collector's kind of like piece because it doesn't really fit in a division right now. But like it is a beautiful, well-made gun that they kind of modernized into it. I shot an X6 and a 101 a few years ago, and it was fantastic. And the owner's only complaint is I think the magazine tubes are actually longer on the X, and so they're a different magazine than a regular 226. He's like, they're $100 and they're never in stock, and I only have 2 of them. So he had like this little unicorn he could never use except for screw it around.
A Bren 10 ships without mags.
Ships without mags, please. The thing that took them out of business, the magazine.
Wow.
The thing that everybody forgets is, even if today you decided we were going to make a new division, you're not going to see it till 2024 at the earliest anyway, because it still has to go through the process of basically you got to get it approved, then it's got to have enough time so the members can actually make changes, because we all dealt with that with the flashlights. Oh, surprise, we're going to go and allow these things, and people are like, what, I have to change everything halfway through the season? No, it'll be 2024. And the way USPSA shooters are, they're the worst. USPSA shooters are like the most fickle people in the entire world. They get really excited about something, and then a month later they're like, what were we talking about again? That's how we all are.
There's always a new gadget.
There's always a new gadget.
Let's go attack Mike Glover. Yay.
Yay. Yeah, that guy. That guy's interesting.
Who's Mike Glover?
Exact. Just let it go.
Low
right there.
hanging
Okay.
fruit.
Yeah.
Okay, never
Um,
mind. I didn't ask.
Yeah, exactly. Last question from Olaf. When do you switch your backup gun? My backup gun is a big step down, so I waited too long.
You have a backup gun?
I don't even have a backup magazine. Oh, when you switch your competition backup gun, when
Yeah,
it's
like
not similar to your main match, not similar enough to your main match gun, that's when I'd switch
when
it.
in a match do you switch
Oh,
to the
switch
backup?
to it.
When do you switch to the backup gun?
Typically, when it breaks,
When it goes full auto.
that also is effective.
So
When
like
the front sight goes missing, the barrel bushing goes missing.
Hey.
I think if you
don't be telling things that happen to me.
When your trigger pin breaks.
Hey, I said stop it.
when the optic goes flying through the air.
Your trigger
Look at you,
return
Brett.
spring
Brett
disappears.
I think sometimes people think like they're just having some malfunctions. Like all of a sudden the malfunctions will clear up, and then they have two stages that they kind of have malfunctions, and they don't jump ship to it.
I told you to stop talking about me. It's really hurting. Now it's getting personal here.
And
That
so
was 2 whole seasons for Robert.
So the answers we've given initially were all obvious, but the one that isn't obvious, like you just said, is what? You get a stovepipe or a double feed.
Yep.
Do you switch then?
No.
No, not unless it happens on a consistent basis from one stage to the next. It would have to be stage 1, stage 2.
Then you switch.
Then you start like, okay, let's see if it's something else.
Well,
you switch the gun.
The problem is that most jams that we actually sat there and fixed are not like the ones that we just go like, oh, I'll just knock this brass out. I'll just tap that magazine and eject that round. Most of the time when we're talking about having a malfunction, it is the take out the magazine, rack it, get another magazine, rack it. You get 2 of those in a match? No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. What was that? What did that cost you? 4 hit factor, 2 full hit factor points over across 2 stages? And sometimes your backup gun may not be identical, and maybe it might be like the difference between like a Glock 34 and a Glock 19. But the difference between your ability to shoot a 34 and a 19 is like 1.5% on a bad day. I'll tell you what's a lot worse. Watching that hit factor just rain down.
Having a third stage with a double feed or 2.
Yeah, as soon as you have that second malfunction, guess what happened? That 1.5% is automatically, you just traded it. If you got something that works, like there is something to be said about having a factory configured gun. I'm not talking like have the extended magazine release, have the parts that fit, but like standard sprung, factory connector, factory mainspring, optic attached to it, zeroed, and just be like, and we're grabbing this.
As a backup?
As a backup.
Oh God, no.
Instead of having, well, if you have,
I would have 2 identical guns.
But if you have 2 identical guns, they could run into the same problem with the same ammunition that you're using.
Right, I totally understand that, but at a certain point, okay, the likelihood of these things happening in that situation is you take the likelihood of a problem happening here. The likelihood of the problem happening again in the same exact situation on another gun, it suddenly drops down. You start getting into really rarefied air kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Have the same exact gun.
So coming from someone who had to swap from his primary competition gun to a backup gun in the middle of a match, just recently,
why?
Because my
gun
happened? Full auto.
Oh, that's right.
I wish I would have had an exact replica of that primary gun, and it would have worked just fine. Instead, I had what Tom said, and I had my competition gun was a full tilt competition Glock. My backup gun was my duty Glock 17, which is obviously just a stock factory Glock 17. And there was a significant difference in how it recoiled and how it shot and how everything. And it wasn't like if I shot the duty Glock a little bit, I would have gotten used to the recoil. I would have gotten used to the splits. I would have gotten used to everything, and it would have been just fine. I can shoot that gun.
Where
actually,
you want to do it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I can shoot that stock Glock 90%. of what I can my fancy Gucci Combat Master. But the problem I had was I was 7 or 8 stages deep into the Utah State match, and that Combat Master, I had it perfectly tuned where I could split that thing and I could shoot that thing incredibly, incredibly well. And so when I get that other Glock, I went to try to shoot it the exact same way I shot the other gun, and it just wasn't working.
Yeah,
And
so it's definitely
hurt me.
better if your backup gun is as close as you can afford to your main match gun. And that's something that some of us just can't afford, or we're just not interested in throwing that much more money in a backup.
Right.
So you don't.
But for me, I look at it from the standpoint, when I buy a gun, I buy 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
you can afford
it. That's me,
right.
Because I know that I break stuff, and so it literally is that thing. 1 is none, 2 is 1.
Well, I think
so. That's just how I look at the world.
I think the counterpoint is familiarity. I mean, there's
okay,
something like
not,
if you take two halves of a guns and put them together and shoot it, it's like that's going to be off, right? And then like Jared, I've seen Jared shoot his duty Glock in many matches. And he's very good at it.
Tommy, the thing is, when something bad happens, you're trying to stop the bleeding as quickly as possible.
Oh, I know.
And when you go to a gun that is not what you're used to, yes, you stop the bleeding, but the patient's still dying on the track because you're not actually doing anything. Yeah. It'd be like if you're like driving a NASCAR around the track and you're like, oh well, hey, let's just swap it out for an '86 Datsun because by God, that thing.
Well, they're not going to be that different. I'm not saying like having something completely different, but this is what I'm saying. I'm saying, remember in the 90s when you used to get in Ford Explorers with Firestone tires and they would blow up? And then you get out of the car wreck and you go like, hey, what's the ride home? That Ford Explorer over there with Firestone tires? I'm saying, like, let's take the Ford Explorer with the Yokohamas.
But
that's all I'm saying. Close.
But your argument.
That is such a strange metaphor.
Well, it's a beautiful metaphor. Thank you for joining. Hurry, Robert, don't get a counterpoint and I'm going to end the show. Hurry.
Done and done. That's fine. Oh,
we're now sponsored by Yokohama.
I totally get it. But you just look at it in terms of just the pure statistics. What's the statistical likelihood of you having a gun break in the middle of a match? Okay, it's this number. Okay, well, what's the statistical likelihood of having 2 guns break in the same match? Well, that number just dropped like tremendously.
Yes.
Okay, and all things being equal, if you have crap ammo, then that crap ammo is going to go across the board no matter which gun you put it in. It doesn't really matter. That'd be me. I've had that happen. Right? It doesn't matter what gun you put it in. It's going to happen. So if you know that, then build 2 guns identical. Because let's be honest, the gun is the absolute cheapest thing we're ever going to be putting into this game.
Yep,
by a large margin. The gun is nothing after everything is said and done.
Well, it's just like if you have something that's finely tuned. Like the one thing that I always like going back to was like if you had ammunition problems, the Beretta 92s were great because the chambers were nice enough that if you had tight or a little bit bad ammo, it would still fire them. And so having something that has a little bit looser of tolerance, that's a little bit looser, might help you get through that ammo problem. But anyways, you got an hour and a half show again, you bastards, for free. Thanks for downloading, listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you to Scott and Rick Neff for having dinner with us. That was fantastic last night. We had a great time.
And they bought us fries.
Jeffrey Yerger, we tried to find you.
You left. You didn't want to help Taylor on stages. I'm guessing that's why you took off. We would have loved to have dinner.
In OFT.
So anyways, thanks for doing all that stuff. And for Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, Jared Stepp, Kenny Terry in a mountain, running his Bluetooth battery headphones down, trying to look for an elk.
Broke back.
We bid you peace, love, and soul as we depart to the open water of the sea of life on a little tugboat we like to call the Paracast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Good night, everybody.
Doot, doot.